Good morning, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. For our audience, I would like that maybe we can just have a brief round of introductions of who we are speaking to today. So, and then we can dive into the questions. So, if you might as well be so great to just tell a few lines about what you've been doing, who you are, where do you come from, a bit about that, so that the audiences get to know better.
Thank you, Siddhant. Thank you for having me here. In fact, I think I can describe myself. For that, I may not even need few lines, just one line will do, because I haven't actually done anything else apart from consulting in life. So a major part was in PwC. I was a partner heading the consulting line of service. Thereafter in KPMG for a smaller part, same role. And then I have been advisor to many other consulting firms in the various types of consulting firms. I'm also right now an advisor to a firm called Protiviti India, which is in risk and management consulting. But I have also started a firm of mine, which is called Intueri Consulting, to create a brand from India in management consulting with 20 sharp people like you from the premier MBA institutes. And we try to solve the complex business problems. That's what I do. And in addition, there are advisory board positions and all that thing, which is taking 20-30% of the time.
Right. So since you mentioned about the fact that you have spent your entire career in the consulting field, so that is something that I, in fact, wanted to start with or dive a little deeper into, in the sense that your background, your educational background was in engineering. And then for majority of your career, you've taken up consulting as your chosen field. So how did that transition happen? And did your background as an engineer in some ways help you, enable you, or either directly, technically, or in your thought process as to how to go about things? And like, how did the problem solving and decision making aspect that we associate with consulting so often, that how did that attract you and how did you get into it?
I was not a very good engineering student. Therefore, my batchmates will laugh if I say that my engineering education actually made me go into consulting. But yes, leave aside my case. There is a perception generally that a problem solving skill comes from engineering, and therefore engineering students do get into management consulting. This was a concept when I was young also, and but you know, Siddhant, now it's changing a lot. Because in engineering, we actually tend to solve a very defined problem,
Right.
And in a micro domain. Like if you are solving a problem in quantum mechanics, or you are solving a problem in the control theory of electrical,
Right.
or you are solving any hydraulics problem. It's a very defined problem in a micro domain that you are actually trying to solve. That does give you an orientation, but today, even from the broader sciences of humanities, which is not confined itself to a very micro domain, also does not have the luxury of having the problem very predefined and fixed. Answers are also not always very tangible and palpable. That kind of skill is also very much welcome in consulting. So therefore, we are seeing people from economics, from behavioral science, from politics, political science, from social sides, legal, they are also getting integrated into management consulting. As a result, the interdisciplinary orientation between the engineers, fundamental sciences, and humanities, it's creating a good mix in a consulting domain. So possibly it will be a wrong thing for engineers to say that engineering only gives a different orientation to the consulting. And clients' problems are also now becoming at a very macro nature. A geopolitical situation throwing up a problem which the client also doesn't understand from where to start and where the solution lies.
Right.
And that does call for people coming with an orientation who actually sees the macro level, a much bigger scale, the problem at a much bigger scale than an engineer. So it's a mix which is very much needed. Mathematical orientation, of course, is one such thing which is very key. Statistical orientation is very important. But today, even I should say, the bigger mix of a consultant comes from engineering even today, but a large chunk has now started to move from the other sciences as well.
That is very true, sir. And being in a business school setup, that is what we are also seeing as to how people from various educational backgrounds are actually more than welcome, because the idea that a variety of people in the setup offer multiple aspects of thought to a problem. So that is there. And of course, you also talked a bit about, how the clients nowadays are coming, or in a more recent shift, a lot of the macro level problems, the macroeconomic factors affect the clients, and the clients are also not very sure of how it goes about impacting them or what to do about it. So, like, on those lines itself, because you have been like more than almost three decades or more than that in the consulting domain, and like you've been almost 2 decades at PwC, and post that you've been in other firms. You are on the advisory board. You have your own consulting firm now. So throughout your entire tenure, which is like quite a significant amount of time, you must have seen things evolve in this industry, in the way things get done. So what for you have been like key shifting points in the industry, and like how have you personally or as a part of your job, evolved or adapted to the same, if like a few instances roll up to you?
See, the problems in the industry when we started consulting were slightly, I should say, a very well-defined problem, a little myopic in nature also. Because the varying conditions within which an industry was performing was not so changing, fluctuating as today industries are. Say, for example, when we started a technology consulting long back, say in the late 90s or early 2000, people will be asking big consulting houses to choose an ERP for me and implement an ERP for me.
Right.
And from that, maybe the evolution started to happen that, okay, I've done ERP, therefore, what kind of process changes should I be having to take or make maximum leverage of this ERP? What kind of organizational structure should I be having? So there is a path that was being followed. The change which is happening today, and which is also very much defined by adopted frameworks, a pastel framework, which you MBA students all know, the geopolitical situations are continuously throwing up newer challenges to a corporate in terms of the value chain, in terms of the rules of working in a country, movement of the goods, movement of the fund, money. The economic situation continuously changing and impacting an organization in terms of their investment, flow of FDI. Should we be counting on these instruments of making money much? Yeah. Should we move into that country or not move into that country? The social part also, the neoliberal, the liberal preferences, the younger generation coming up, activism, choices of the product, creation of an exceptional thing for them, dislike for various kinds of brands for different reasons. Younger views coming up, you can see in America and the institutes, we can see in the other international institutes, even in India also. The 25 to 35 are having their own choices or thing. Technology is the majorly sweeping one. Right. Digital, AI, name what. Environment is something that we never heard of. The DEI environment, the ESG, the inclusivity factor, the social, the governance, and then also the legal part of it changing. So within these 6 dimensions, the changes that are happening so much, impacting an organization, that it is sometimes becoming very difficult for a client also to define a problem and call a consultant.
Right.
So earlier, we were going to give a solution to a problem which the client has possibly identified. Today, we are actually called in for unknown unknowns.
Yes.
Where a client doesn't know what problem is in.
Hmm.
It's the consultant's duty to actually point out that I am also not very sure whether this will happen or not, but are you ready for this? Are you having this contingency? Are you agile enough for having that? Or have you thought about this trend which may be coming up? Or even if that trend has not come up, does a consultant have that perception, that a perceptible ingenuity or that kind of an insight, spotting a trend, or even not spotting a trend but innovating a trend which can help the client? So innovation, market insight, lateral thinking, these are some of the very crucial items which are now shaping a consultant's work. As a result, the engagement model of a consultant also is now changing.
Yes.
It's no more a fixed fee of a consultant. You come and implement my ERP, you come and do this assignment. It's a success fee, it's a stay with me, you get some fee as you move along, trusted advisor, you manage my office, managing an office of the CEO. So there are multiple different things which we are hearing which we haven't actually heard in the past.
Right.
It was like, you work out my growth strategy. Even today, the clients are saying, I don't need a report.
Right.
Earlier, we were actually writing reports of 60 pages, 600 pages, a growth strategy report, a sales channel augmentation, and all these kinds of things, a sales asymmetry. Today, clients are saying, I don't need a report. It's very important for you, whatever you have identified or whatever you are recommending, to articulate to me and my people in a much better comprehensible form. And that too within 10 to 15 minutes. Now you go back and you decide how will you actually explain that to me, and how will you make that thought penetrate into me. Don't throw 600-page report to me.
Right.
So multiple things are changing, and already in your first question I mentioned, this interdisciplinary thing is also bringing in another orientation.
Right.
Like an engineer sitting with a political scientist, or engineer sitting with a behavioral scientist, and discussing that how the growth strategy to be formed. These are bringing in newer dimensions also. Completely. So that is why you can see the unknown unknowns is becoming very important. Research-based consulting is becoming very important. The data-driven, evidence-driven consulting is becoming very important. Articulation playing a very different role. Newer styles of articulation have to be thought about. Stay with me is the model that the clients are also asking for. Trusted advisor, don't go. You just come in, charge me 10 crores of rupees and go. No, you have to stay with me. So there are various types of things which is continuously happening, and consultants also have to think about that what more can they do.
Right.
As a result, even within the consulting firm also the structures are changing. A monolithic large firm are doing well, big brands, but around them you will see there are a lot of niche consulting firms which are coming around, and they are creating a consulting ecosystem. They may be having 30 solid people like you on their payroll, but they are having multiple partners or alliances from whom they are sourcing and curating a solution for a client when they are approaching. With the project being over, they are all going back.
Right.
Only the hardcore 20, 30 people are there maybe on their payroll.
Yes.
In the past, my last point onto that, that we used to give a lot of emphasis on methodology.
Yes.
That you guys have come here as a consultant, and what is your approach and methodology to my problem? I'm saying increasingly the approach and methodology to the problem, because we give a lot of weightage to a structured approach and methodology, and a selection of a consultant also used to happen based on whose approach and methodology I like more, because it's much more well defined. Today I'm seeing, finding out that yes, approach and methodology does play a role, but it doesn't always play a role to that significant extent as it was earlier, because the problem situation is changing so much, evolving, that a stereotyped cut out approach and methodology may not possibly able to the ground for a success, because you may also have to keep on changing your approach and methodology also have to be that agile to take care of the problem. So that's continuously changing the landscape of consulting.
Oh, that is true. Like even in my brief stint, I have also seen the emphasis on you don't get problem statements. It is also part of your job to, identify the problem statement for the client, and then they'll come and tell you that, okay, now do this for me as well, now that you have identified it. And I think that is the growing trend. And of course, the dynamics of the people we are catering to are also varying. The opinions are varying with new channels of expressing opinions for people. I think that becomes even more dynamic for someone to figure out, why someone prefers something or does not, and the reasons can be much more varied. So, very strict pathway, as you said, does not always give you all possible outcomes as to how things might work. And so this deep understanding, of course, like over a period of time, having seen things evolve, I think that helps to a great extent. And with regards to that is what I wanted to understand, because you have spent a significant portion of your career in consulting. So at the point when you decided to form Intueri and go out and form your own company, own brand, like what were your motivations? Of course, you mentioned a brief part of it. You wanted a brand from India in this ecosystem. Like what led you to make that jump? Because it must have been a very defining moment. It's a very significant step. So, and like, how do you think Intueri's approach is somewhat different to what's already out there?
That actually the clients will say that whether our approach is different. I will try, but it has to be more come from a client. But yes, I mean, when I was thinking that with my with the age when my time has to end in KPMG or PwC, then what should I now be doing? And since I have not done anything else in life, so therefore I didn't have much option also, so therefore I chose. But then the reason that was very much in me was that can I actually start an India brand?
Okay.
And if I plant the seed, it may not be me, it may be the next generations like you, and then we can actually make a large India MBB or XTT or XBD coming up. So that if tomorrow a gentleman like Warren Buffett has a problem, he will think that that's the farm I would really like to go to in India. So that kind of lofty ideas and thoughts, I thought that we should start creating an India-led farm with good Indian talents. Few of the things that I thought about, because I have also been a part of that, I myself have subjected my people to those kinds of pressures and therefore I realized that I should not be doing anymore, that we will really not want the farm Intueri to be mammoth in size.
Okay.
If it becomes mammoth in size, turnover as well as a number of people and a huge number of partners, then the younger people are always subjected to more sales, more billing, more collection. To an extent that stagnates, that stifles their creativity, aspiration for more learning, wisdom, stay with the client more, because they know they have to go for newer sales. And it can't be helped also, because sales have to be done to feed 10, 15, 20,000 people. So I felt that I would keep it small. We would be only focusing on very critical problems of a client, problems which will be keeping them awake at night, very differentiated, distinguished problems we will do, which have to be deeply research oriented, based on sharp observations, inferences, coming more from raw intelligence and study. Having a kind of an approach to that, strongly ethical, for the sake of getting more work. I will not actually be telling the client what they want to hear. Stay with the client as long as you can, and always ask the question that does the client really need me? And After the assignment, ask the client that did you genuinely benefit by my involvement in this? Did you really gain? I gained, I made some money, but what exactly is the gain which you feel that without us coming in, you would have been deprived of? Please put it down, because that will be my lessons also. But if you say that no, I haven't actually gained much, and if you feel that the client has only gained because he didn't have the bandwidth, you have provided an extra bandwidth for doing it, try to walk out of that, because that should not be our intent to just provide a bandwidth. Our intent will be to provide the brain width, because the client may be busy with his own work. I'm not saying that the client doesn't have that brain power, but he's busy with his own work. So therefore, could I really produce that kind of an information from him by my market intelligence, by my own intelligence, by the tools intelligence, by my analytic ability, which he could not have seen.
Right.
So that's one. So therefore, there are 4 or 5 things which we felt we need to do. First, engage intently with the client without having any rush for a sale or transaction to be closed. Spend time with the client to understand. Don't go with any stereotype solution that I would want to do your growth strategy, I will make you profitable. See with him asking what's keeping you awake at night, what's happening in your market, what's your new thoughts, new plans. Just be, and no rush for any kind of a closure. As he keeps on talking, you also in the back of your mind try thinking that would I be able to add any value to these problems that he's thinking of? Come back, engage in your own active research with your team, that how can I address this? If you only find out there are certain things which we can address, go back to the client, explain to him, tell him, engage with a very rigorous procedure, and then suppose if luck permits, he engages you. He says you that yes, you do it. During the process, also consider that it's a very joint exercise with the client that you really need to do. Never ever just hear the client out and just produce it in a good form and format to back to the client. Because we are excellent communicator, we write well, we talk well, and a poor client might have given me all the ideas and thoughts, and I just put it down in an excellent piece of paper with some more English jargon, and then I throw it back to him. In that case, walk out of that assignment. If you feel that the client knows everything, then go back and tell the client, in this case, I can see that you really know this subject so well that I will possibly not be able to add much value to that. So, and then once when you have identified some recommendations, some improvement areas, then work on proper articulation. How would I articulate? How would I explain? Not just to him, his colleagues, his down the line people. And even after the assignment, stay with him to see whether whatever you have said is still live, sustainable, benefited him. So that's the kind of approach, but it's easier said than done, because parallelly you also have to feed 20, 30, 40 people, even if they're lesser in number. Their salaries and all. So sometimes you have to make a little bit of a balance of the thing. But the intent to be is a very purpose-driven outcome, ethics-driven outcome, and a trusted advisor kind of an approach to the client.
Right, and that's actually fair. I think in today's ecosystem, a lot of the new age firms that are coming in with that mindset itself. Of course, as you mentioned, there are certain companies which have scaled to multiple clients, very hierarchical structures, and like a vast spread of what they do. But there are a lot of very successful firms nowadays as well, which are, finding a certain niche or a certain scope, and where they feel that they can create significant impact, and they are doing that. So in line with that itself, you or your firm basically have some contributions in terms of public policy or society impact, ESG, those domains. I think with Government of West Bengal, there is some work that you guys have done. So with respect to that, if you could shed some light on what is the work broadly that was done, and how you integrate the business or the consulting aspect to things like public policy or societal impact or ESG, because those are still very up and coming, very new things, and they are more on the unstructured side of things, very broad scope problems.
Not getting into the exactness of the example of a project that we might have done for a or some projects we might have done for a state, but working out policies for a state or center, or working in conjunction with a multilateral bank like a World Bank, USAID, ADB, that's nothing unique about Intueri, because that all big consulting firm, they do it. It may not also always be with any kind of a societal contribution or any philanthropic intent, because these assignments are quite paying, remunerative, and but yeah, it actually may possibly be, if done well, catered to the bigger mass than if done well to a corporate. But it's not actually a pro bono philanthropic assignment that any consulting firm they do. But balancing of the societal contribution along with the business, there are many things which the client also now have coming up with, like the CSR consulting. So basically the client has a fund for CSR. They do not know how to spend that. So they will be engaging consulting firms to work on that. ESG is one such. DEI is another such. ESG, DEI. These are the areas which really does have an impact on the world, on the planet, on the sustainability. Though, I mean, with the new leader of the US coming in, things are changing, because he's already started to bring back many things like plastics. There were a lot of consulting being done on how to replace plastics. Now I'm hearing that plastics are again coming back. So keeps on changing, but whatever it may be, there are assignments which the corporate picks up, and the corporates are actually engaging consulting firm. There are also assignments that you actually can talk to the corporates about, that product that you are taking to the market, associated ancillary benefits around that product, how you can also build up a community. For example, the place where you are in, that's the biggest example of a community development when he started a steel plant, but the whole thing was actually a huge community development around the steel plant. So people may actually be forgetting the steel plant, but the city and the people. So that's a major example of a sustainable community development around that product. And there are many such examples. So therefore today, the opportunities given by the corporates to the consulting firm, that itself carries an essence of contribution to the mankind. You may on top of it therefore think about reducing your fees or doing that consulting pro bono, that you can think about, so that you feel that this is something which will be of a bigger mankind, so I will be actually doing it. In association with that, in addition to that, aspires to do, and that we are trying to do, because we are a small firm, we will be not having the affordability of doing huge work, but we are actually trying as much as possible to make, in line with the vision that Intueri carries, to make good management consulting people from taking from the institutes, good institutes, to come out. So internship, training, talking to them, engaging them, giving them opportunities, that's one of our contribution which we are really trying to, and we will be soon moving into our research, our center of excellence, our training centers, all that we will be doing, just to pick up people from good MBA colleges or from other colleges, and to see that how we can groom them up into good management consultant. And that will just not be my effort, because there are other who have done well in their consulting career, coming out from the big consulting firms, will also be working with us there. That's one contribution that I'm seriously thinking of.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And rightly so. In fact, you talked about how it is, a vision or a goal, or it is imperative at this point, how you as a firm are even thinking of taking the right sort of talent in, and grooming that talent, and using that talent to make impact. So I think to go to a final or a closing question, I would go to that itself, that consulting from our viewpoint as people who are aspiring to be in that domain is often seen as a high effort, high impact kind of a scenario. And a lot of people are in fact drawn to it. So I think from someone who has been in this long, and from someone who's looking to take more of them in and build a setup, what kind of a mindset or skill set do you believe the people who are aspiring to be in this domain, or young professionals, should have or should cultivate? And in general, like, what would be a messaging from your end to all these people who are trying to get into the consulting domain, the new age consulting domain, as to what their mindset should be, what they should be thinking about?
I'm not sure whether the young people will agree to me, but one of my couple of my few suggestions would be that first of all, nobody should actually be choosing the consulting profession for the glamour of the consulting.
Okay.
Yeah, because consulting comes with a kind of a glamour,
Yes.
and that should not be the driver.
Hmm.
Consulting has to be chosen only if you are absolutely serious of going to the depth of any matter. Because at one point in time, consulting felt that people who should be coming in, they should have a good speaking ability, flamboyant, can manage people well, talk to people well, smart and all, otherwise there is no career. Those days are going. People who are not well articulative, people who are not having that flamboyance, not that kind of a personality, but an extremely serious bent of mind on to go deeper and deeper with their probing ability, their curiosity, those are the people who will be flourishing. The external superficiality in consulting will give way to much more serious, intense, passionate depth coming in. On top of it is ethics. That no, this what I am telling to my client is not enough. There is a tendency of a superficiality. I am not sure about what I am saying.
Right.
This is not inadequately researched. This is not inadequately evidenced. I am also not convinced about this. That continuous self-introspection and challenge to yourself will actually, to me, become the basic ingredient of a consultant. And along with that, observational ability. Just to observe and to pick up a sharp observations from everything that I'm seeing, which actually go into the market intelligence or the various other intelligence also. But that observational intelligence, observation on individuals' behavior also, all these things are very necessary. But the concentration and the seriousness and the depth of getting into the matter is very, very important to me. Very important to me. And that is why, I mean, to me, while I'm recruiting here or recruiting in the past, the academic results have actually become a very important parameter, because I felt that people who have actually shown that kind of a tendency, even in their younger days, they have really shown that depth. But if they have not done academically well, but if they have done later on very well in some other company, to me, they will be lesser attractive than those people who might not have done very well in a very good firm, because stuck for some articulation ability and all, but have really done academically well, because they really want to consider the consulting as an extremely serious profession. No more just talking and managing people and impressing them. Impress people with the content.
Right.
That's what is very important. I mean, I may be knowing 100 people, that is definitely a skill. But knowing 10 people, but those 10 people will remembering me for my content, not because how nice Ambarish was as a person.
Right.
It's more important that because of the content that I bring to them.
Right. That's very well put, sir. Honestly, I think rather than telling the client 10 superficial things, give them 5 high quality, well researched, in depth things. I think that is the core of the message. And of course, I think I understand your sentiment in that regard, that I think people who have, shown up and have had the knack of delivering in what they are doing academically or professionally, I think those are the people who add value to this in-depth, well-researched, quality over quantity subject matter field. And It was actually very insightful.
And I would
To
also
know
say
that.
be honest with the client. If you
Yeah.
do not know something, we feel sometimes afraid of telling the client that I don't know and what will he think, maybe actually then discarding me and bringing in the. I have never seen that to happen. A
Right.
client actually trusts people who have the courage to say, I don't know, but I will come back to you with this knowledge in 5 days.
Yes. I think that is the ethics and the moral fiber aspect of
Yeah.
the job that one needs to have. Uh, Completely agreed on that. I think that needs to be, it's okay to, I guess, say that I think you have things under control. You don't need me to tell you 10 things. And that is also perfectly fine, because if they're putting their trust, time, and money on you, they deserve your honest opinion.
Yeah.
I think it couldn't have been better summed up by you in that regard. And thank you for taking the time and having this conversation with us. I think when people see this, uh, it will definitely give them a perspective of how to look at things. And I think if even a few people get inspired or do, follow or live through on that, I think it would be great. It would be a good addition to the domain, I guess, if a few
Thank you.
people of that sort.
And if anyone after hearing this wants to talk to me, I'm always available on my LinkedIn
Okay.
or Intueri LinkedIn or my email address. I'm very happy to engage because that's one of the thing me and Intueri is endeavoring, not just with the Inturians, but even if
Right.
they're non-Inturians, they're working in some other consulting firm or anywhere. I mean, we will really help anybody who is in this management consulting profession to help them out. If it doesn't serve Intueri's interest, but it serves the Intueri's bigger interest of creating an India-led management consulting.
That's absolutely amazing thing, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot
My
for
pleasure.
being here.